or just sit beside me and never leave. Got the curtains up. I guess it would be nice if you could interrupt. It's a day like this.
Start where you are is a phrase that really resonates with me. You are the most powerful being, and you can achieve every goal if you do everything in your capacity to reach that goal. It's very easy for us to find external reasons to limit our progress or explain our shortcomings, but in the end, what matters is us and our actions. Good morning and a warm welcome to Home Gupshup. Even though most of us have a million things on our minds first thing in the morning, I've lately mastered the art of getting my work done without feeling overwhelmed or rushed. This dishwashing cleaning has been an essential in my routine. This helps keep the dishwasher in good condition for a long time. Therefore, I run an empty cycle with it every few weeks. Despite being inside, the plants in the corner have been producing a lot of flowers, which eventually fall to the floor. These often become the spots that require a dusting every so often. In the recent Amazon sale, I found the Swiffer duster, but with a longer handle attachment this time. This helps me reach the far off corners and also helps to clean the skirting without me having to bend a lot. All of the dust sort of sticks to it very easily. Here's a simple tip. While I was at it, I decided to quickly arrange my snacks in the bottom shelf of the coffee table. And the tip is that using a tray under the bottles helps with sliding in and out of all the jars at once, and I can easily pick and choose. Today I'm going to bake a total no Maida bread, using not atta but sooji. Plus, I'll be sure to give you some beginner-friendly baking tips and tricks as we go along. I know baking can be too intimidating at first, but slowly it has a potential of turning into an amazing hobby. As a homemaker, I trust that one should always have a side hobby that adds joy. The basic of baking involves measuring everything to the T. I'm using finely ground sooji along with milk, yeast, sugar and other ingredients showing up on the screen. Tip 2 here is that don't be afraid to use yeast. These days one can easily get instant yeast, which you can directly add along with the other ingredients. Since we are directly using yeast here, we need to make sure that the milk and the water that we are adding are slightly warm but not too hot or even cold, since hot milk or hot water will kill the yeast. We will combine everything and let it rest for about 10 minutes. Talking about hobbies, another beautiful aspect of waking up early is getting that extra time with plants. Switching places of these two plants where one was closer to light and another wasn't. You see these light green leaves over here? These are all newer ones that showed up just last week after I had placed this plant closer to the window.
Never thought that you could fall for someone like me. Never thought that you could fall for me. Never thought that you could fall for someone like me. Never thought that you could fall for me, for someone like me.
They say if you want to develop a green thumb, simply spare a few minutes every day to observe your plants. You don't need to do much. The plants can apparently feel your attention and they automatically start showing happiness through growth and newer buds. After the dough has rested for about 10 minutes, we can begin to knead it. Now if you like, you may do it by hand, which means to go slowly and work the dough for about 15 to 20 minutes at an easy pace. Today I am also making an eggless version of a cake, and an easy replacement for eggs is yogurt over here. Add some baking soda to it and let it froth up, so leave it aside for about 10 minutes.
Fall for someone like me. Never thought that you could fall.
My husband had work from office this day, so I decided to make some coffee mini cakes that he could share in office with his folks. Sugar and oil are first well combined, to which we will add the yogurt mixture and coffee diluted in warm water.
Living in a fantasy, or is this for real? Never thought that you could fall for someone like me. Never thought that you could fall.
I chose this recipe in particular since the end result is extremely moist, flavorful, and overall this recipe doesn't require much mixing and all. One baking essential is to mix the wet ingredients together but separately and the dry ingredients together in a separate bowl. Later we bring them both together. This will ensure a clean process and method without much hassle, especially if you're a beginner. Another version in these cakes could be replacing the coffee with cinnamon powder. In baking, it's all about these little things. Some are added, some are deleted. As I ponder, I realize this is just how many little moments of our past also shape us to who we are today. Every small thing and experience adds to our personality. We don't realize it then, but I'm sure looking back, we can see how it all adds up. Like for me, when I was a kid, my mom used to love hosting people, and then she would make me help her with all the arrangements on the table and otherwise. I, as a kid, used to dislike that task. But now, I know where my love for hosting stems from. I've left the bread dough now to rise in the oven for about an hour. Why the oven? Because it's a warm spot. And using the remaining time to deck up the home a little bit. Without realizing, I managed to have yellow as the main theme.
Send me a letter and a bottle of wine.
this point, when we are done mixing with the liquids together and all that is left to do is add the flour, I like to take a moment to clean up the area. It helps me keep the process organized, so clean as you go. Like I said, baking to me is a hobby that doesn't have to seem to get too tedious, if you know what I mean. Now it may not seem too significant, but when measuring anything, it's important we air out the dough. We want a very light 1 cup of flour over here and not one that is densely packed.
Sing to me if I lose my voice. Set a better route if I lose my core.
It's important at the same time to not overmix the batter. The best baked cakes are the ones which have a lot of air in them through the sifting of the flour, adding the correct amount of rising agents like baking powder, eggs, etc. Today, since we are making a coffee cake, I guess adding some walnuts would be a nice option too. I can already imagine the aroma of coffee filling my home after these go into the oven. I've used these mini-sized molds, but one can simply bake a regular cake instead. I have the oven preheated and ready. Preheating is crucial. I once saw a baking show where they also mentioned that don't keep the oven open for too long while placing the cake. We want to maintain the temperature inside. Before demolding, I let everything cool down to room temperature. The anticipation of seeing the finished product is half the fun of baking because that's when the flavor really shines. After this, the bread dough had risen completely. If the dough is excessively sticky at this point, sprinkle it with flour and form it as needed. The circular cake pan will have to suffice today because I am without a loaf pan. Basically, we'll now let it rise for 35 more minutes in the mold itself before baking it. I also learned that professional ovens make use of steam for that extra moisture in their breads. So adding a tray of water on the bottom of the oven to replicate exactly that. I had let the bread cool down completely before cutting the slices. Well, the top of my bread honestly was sort of in a weird shape, but the inside turned out pretty yum and spot on. Bread making is a continuous learning process, I believe, but trying it every once in a while is totally worth it. After the baking was done, I wasn't left with much time to pack everything for him. Although they usually eat at office itself, but I thought of adding a mini meal to have any time of the day along with buttermilk to beat the heat.
There's a road, a way to get to you.
In the book Eat That Frog, Brian Tracy highlights the importance of doing the most important task, which is challenging but also has a positive impact on your life. Your mind may trick you to procrastinate, but finish that task in the first go. For me, any such tasks that are challenging or I don't wish to get done, I usually pick them up early in the morning. It's on mornings like these, before the chaos of the day even begins, I get the maximum work done. Just like this, today it's been just a few hours since I woke up and I've already achieved so much. So if you've loved today's recipes and if you try baking these at your home, do tag homegupshup on Instagram. Consider following me on Instagram where I share small snippets of my everyday life. Until next time, here's Home Gupshup signing off.